For most people, the island nations of the South Pacific represent a form of heaven on earth. Fringed with atolls and palm trees, sunny and gentle, these perfect islands are part of the world's romance with the South Seas. They're the images of an earthly paradise. Beneath the picturesque scenes of beauty, however, lies a grimmer truth. The same warm and balmy climate that characterizes these South Sea islands provides a perfect home for other forms of life as well. Malaria thrives in this environment, and it's one of the world's worst diseases. Some 270 million people contract malaria every year. 2 million of them die. 2 billion are at risk from the malaria parasite. The small tropical republic of Vanuatu, comprising 83 islands in the South Pacific, is the starting point for an epic story of the efforts of many people to combat malaria. This slice of the Pacific paradise has been the location for a trial program to reduce the scourge of the malaria parasite. It's a bold scheme, the result of the multinational efforts of the World Health Organization, Rotary, and the governments of Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. World Health Organization Regional Director Dr. S.T. Hahn outlines the gravity of this deadly disease.
Malaria is a serious public health problem. In the Western Pacific region of the World Health Organization, there are about 150 million people who are at risk to malaria. Nearly 1 million confirmed cases of malaria occur each year. There is no simple solution to control malaria. Drug resistance levels are increasing, and limited financial resources hamper large-scale vector control operations. However, with the use of appropriate technology, adequate resources, and good management, malaria can be controlled.
A new malaria control system developed recently by the World Health Organization and malaria specialists uses bed nets impregnated with a new insecticide, permethrin. Already this program is having a major impact in reducing malaria in Vanuatu. Malaria is caused by a deadly parasite called Plasmodium, which is transmitted to humans by the Anopheles mosquito. The parasite's complex life cycle requires 2 different hosts for it to survive. It cannot reproduce unless it's transmitted from the first host to the second. So the Plasmodium parasite is harmless to its mosquito host, but becomes very dangerous once it reaches a human host. In the human bloodstream and liver, the parasite multiplies rapidly. Up to 250 million parasites develop within a few days, with serious consequences for the human host. The story of this new initiative against malaria starts in Port Vila, capital of Vanuatu. Many efforts have been made over the years to minimize this major cause of death and disease in Vanuatu. These included various forms of environmental management, restricting mosquito breeding grounds, spraying with DDT, as well as biological controls, prophylactics, insect repellents, smoke coils, and bed nets. An ongoing campaign minimizes areas of stagnant water, the primary breeding environment for mosquitoes. Even village water supplies, large or small, often provide a perfect breeding place. Villagers are encouraged to thoroughly seal their water tanks.
That should all be closed.
A special breed of South American fish that lives on mosquito larvae has been introduced in some areas. Another control system is fogging. In 1984, the Rotary Club of Port Vila raised money to purchase fogging equipment for the 2 main centres. This equipment blows a fog of malathion insecticide into the breeding areas and kills all mosquitoes it contacts. It's effective in controlling outbreaks of dengue fever, but it's not proved effective against malaria. Some of these systems improved the situation in the short term, but gains could not be sustained. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, the incidence of malaria increased around the world as mosquitoes developed immunity to many insecticides, and the parasite itself became resistant to anti-malarial drugs. Now, the discovery of the group of pyrethroid chemicals has revolutionized the war against malaria. Pyrethroids are based on the natural properties of the pyrethrum flower. In ancient China, the dried flowers were burnt to create a very effective repellent smoke. Recent research has produced synthetic versions like permethrin, 600 times more powerful than DDT. In the 1980s, the World Health Organization developed the idea of bed nets impregnated with permethrin as a means of controlling the mosquito's impact. By the mid-80s, trials were being carried out in several countries. Trials started in Vanuatu in 1988. They were so successful that the Vanuatu government sought help to introduce a nationwide program in 1990. Under a bed net, the sleeper is protected through the most vulnerable time, from dusk to dawn. Bed nets impregnated with permethrin add more than just the barrier protection. They kill every mosquito once it touches the net. The method is simple and effective, but the program is complex, especially in countries like Vanuatu, where the population is scattered over many islands. It requires not just a supply of bed nets and insecticide, but also a distribution system, detailed planning and logistics management, a comprehensive health education system to back it up, and a regular maintenance program for the re-impregnation of insecticide and the replacement of damaged nets. These systems are managed by the Malaria Control Section of Vanuatu's Health Department. Education plays a major role. Surveys of villages are conducted beforehand and agreements are reached with village chiefs.
Kami make him small talk first time concern him when we make him blow make him the morning Okay, I think
Health department workers teach the villagers how deadly the mosquito is to their families, especially the young, and encourage them to use the bed nets every night. The villagers are then involved in the impregnation process, helping health workers to mix the insecticide with water and to dip the nets into the permethrin solution. The nets are placed in the shade on non-absorbent mats to dry. Every family gets a supply of nets. The date of dipping and the name of the owner is recorded on each net, to be updated each time the net is re-dipped. A regular process the villagers will also take part in. In 1995, the Vanuatu Health Department began placing the bed nets into boarding schools throughout Vanuatu. The use of the bed nets throughout the school system means some 4,000 youngsters will benefit each year from the program and will grow up understanding the reasons and routines of the campaign. The progress of the program is monitored regularly. The health department visits villages and schools, conducting simple blood tests to determine whether anyone has been infected. The samples are taken to Port Vila Hospital for examination. Here, every slide is stained to highlight the malaria parasite. The results are dramatically encouraging. By the end of 1994, 53,000 nets had been distributed, covering 60% of the population. In the southern district, where most of the new bed nets have been introduced, actual malaria cases during peak season had dropped by 80%. The country's Minister of Health, Dr. Tam Basari, explains the impact the BedNet program has already made.
Malaria in Vanuatu is probably the biggest health problem in Vanuatu. When the BedNet was introduced in the country, in the first place, I was rather skeptical of what impact it would have on the malaria picture in Vanuatu. I had that opinion because of the fact that we have used other methods before and with only minimal success. However, when we ran some pilot projects in Vanuatu on bednets, and particularly in the islands in the south, Anaichum in particular, the results of that project were very promising. And it showed that malaria incidence on that island dropped almost to zero within a period of a few months.
Local chiefs also confirm the impact that the program has had on malaria incidents in their villages. Many people, governments and organisations have contributed to the success of this new program. Up to 1994, over $500,000 US has been provided by donor agencies to finance the program. This has included the World Health Organization, Rotary and the governments of Japan and Australia. The Rotary input, 25% of the funding, has come from over 100 clubs in 15 districts, augmented by 3 matching grants from the Rotary Foundation. It is money well spent. The Australian government's aid agency, ADAB, is one of the donors involved in the Vanuatu program. Lynn Peck, in charge of the ADAB office in Port Vila, explains that the agency sets strict standards on evaluating aid projects as viable and effective.
We believe that the nets are having a high impact at reducing the incidence of malaria as well as other health problems in the islands, and ADAB has been very pleased to be part of such a successful project.
The campaign is not just reducing the incidence of malaria. It's giving a new quality of life to families who can now live more confidently, knowing that their risks from this deadly disease have been minimised. Port Vila GP, Dr. Jean-Luc Bador, believes the program gives control back to the people themselves over a disease they've traditionally felt powerless to affect.
This impregnated bednet scheme is a very good program. It's good not only because it will reduce the risks of malaria in the population in Vanuatu, but it will also give a further or a bigger sense of responsibility to people that are living in the islands. They will not anymore consider malaria as being a fatality, but they will have to act against it, using the bed nets in time to prevent the mosquitoes to bite them. It will also have good effects on the parasites in the house, skin parasites like lice and scabies and other bed bugs that will be reduced. So it will have some influence on the rate of asthma and other lungs disease as well.
In Manila, Regional World Health Organization Director Dr. S.T. Hahn identifies the critical need for financial support.
I welcome the support that Rotary has provided for malaria control in Vanuatu. This same strategy is being successfully applied in other countries of the region. In conclusion, I would emphasize that malaria is a very serious public health problem worldwide. World Health Organization welcomes financial support from all donor agencies, which is so essential for controlling this disease.
Malaria has a huge impact on the health and well-being of millions of people in many countries. Since you began watching this program, 7,800 people have contracted malaria and 57 have died from it. most of them children. It need not be that way. The treated bed net program operating in Vanuatu has proved to be a simple and effective way to reduce malaria incidents dramatically and minimise a raft of other health problems, including scabies and head lice. The Rotary Against Malaria campaign has provided a positive impact on the health of this small nation. It's also given them the dignity of controlling their own lives and future. The close involvement of Rotary on a multi-district basis has been a critical factor in raising finance for this program. We believe the continued active involvement of a Rotary Club with government at the implementing end is also as critical in making the program succeed. Rotary in the South Pacific urges Rotary International to consider malaria control a global priority. We recommend that Rotary International initiate a full feasibility study in cooperation with the World Health Organization and the world's leading malariologists to determine if the resources of Rotary on a worldwide basis can be directed to achieving a significant reduction in the disease of malaria. We believe this can be achieved throughout the world. The BedNet program on Vanuatu, applied to the 100 or more other at-risk countries, would save hundreds of thousands of lives annually and improve the health, well-being and quality of life of those millions who currently suffer this lethal disease every year. Everyone's home should be a part of their own paradise. This simple and effective program can help destroy one of the deadliest of the parasites that deny millions of humans the personal paradise of a safe and healthy life.